You're listening to Just a Dude podcast with your host, Nathan. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Let's roll. What's up, dudes and dudettes? Welcome back to Just a Dude podcast, where we dive into cool stories, big ideas, and just vibe with awesome people. Today, I've got a special guest, Bracha Goetz, an author who's all about spreading joy, gratitude, and making an impact through her books. We're talking kid stories, deep life lessons, and maybe even some secrets to living a fuller life. Let's get into it. Bracha, welcome to Just a Dude podcast. Please let our audience know a little bit about yourself.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm the author of now 45 children's books and one memoir for adults about my journey. Well, first I'll tell you that the memoir is interesting because it's like a documentary. I actually took it, I compiled it from my diaries and my journals and letters. So like you actually watch me developing food addictions, the process, and then healing. It's really gets you right in there.
Nice.
Experiencing the raw experience along with me. Yeah, very candid. And then my 45 children's books, what they have in common is that they all help children's souls to shine in different ways. Like even two of my books are about the prevention of abuse, helping children to understand what to look out for, how to watch out, how to be safe in life. Those are actually some of my most popular books, which is interesting because children really feel empowered by them. I have books about teaching about disabilities because children with disabilities are usually the loneliest children.
It's so true, isn't it?
Yeah. They don't get invited to as many parties or play dates. So a lot of that is because children that don't have the disabilities they never had it explained to them clearly how to interact and how to include the children. So I explain that in the book. And as I'm talking about it, one of the most basic things in the book is this, that children normally stare at another child with a disability when they, with a visible disability when they see a child.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so I learned there's another word. They stare. There's another 5-letter word that also begins with S, and that's smile. If you add your smile as you're staring because you're curious, but you smile, that creates a bond right away. So that's just one of the little things in the book,
And Bracha, that's great because, there's so many, I know when I was a kid, right, my parents trying to explain to me, what a person with a disability was. And you're right, we do stare. We see people that are different than what we look like or what we normally do. And then I can even imagine, how do you explain that to a child, especially if you're let's say you're a first-time parent, for sure, right? This is a book that I could see someone using to help explain disabilities to their children. That's fantastic because not only are you giving the tools to the kids, but you're giving it to the parents also, which is fantastic.
Exactly. That is the secret to children's books. When you write children's books, it's not just for the children because there are parents reading it to the children or teachers, and then there's grandparents. So it gets to every single age level. That's the amazing thing about a children's book. It sends the message out into the world to every age because even teenagers, when they're walking by, they'll see this book. They'll pick it up and read it when no one's looking. And it's simple and clear so everybody can get the message. Exactly. This is that book. Let's appreciate everyone. I
love that.
I'll show that.
Yeah, and it's so great to hear this because not only 45 books now, which is, that's a huge accomplishment just for anyone, right? But you've also got this whole operation at Growing Impact Publications, and I wanted to kind of go into that a little bit if it's okay. But what's the impact stand for, and what's the mission that you're trying to go for here?
Oh my gosh, yes. This is a family project. Growing Impact Publications is run by my youngest children. My youngest son and his wife. My daughter-in-law, was a preschool teacher for years, and my youngest son is still a first grade teacher. So they love having an impact on children, and
That's awesome.
they wanted to get my messages out further into the world. So it used to be that my books were published by Jewish publishers, and they did go around the world, but now we're publishing the books not only for Jewish audiences, and they're universal messages. So
Yeah,
that's how it's
absolutely.
Growing Impact Publications. And impact, my daughter-in-law came up with that. Let's see. I've never done it before. Let's see if I know what all the letters stand for. Wait a minute. 1 second. Oh, yeah. Impact. The I is important, is messages for parents and children together. That's it.
I love it.
Important. This is the first time I ever said it.
There you go.
Yeah. Important messages for parents and children together. Impact. That's it.
That is so amazing. I love that name too, because you're just like we already talked about, you write a children's book and you give that impact on them, but there's so many people around that child, and to do it in such a simple form that a child can understand it, even dummies like me could understand it too.
You're not a dummy. No way.
Yeah, but what I love about what I've seen, everything that you do, Braca, and your organization for the publications, is you're inspiring meaningful and positive action through these children's book, and that's what is fantastic, because there's tons, right? There's a lot of children's books out there, and a lot of them do look at inspiring and meaningful things, but you've really taken that to the next level.
The whole thing that every single one of these books do is help to instill gratitude in children from the youngest age possible. Because this is the thing, if a child can learn happiness skills early in life, they have those tools for the rest of their lives. And older people, we all have neuroplasticity, so our brains can change. So we can also become more grateful people along with our children. But to imbue this into young children, that is essential, because it just changes their entire lives going forward.
Yeah. And not only that, their parents, and it gives their parents the tools to help give them that good baseline that they can then build off of as they get older, because like everybody says, even, when you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, doesn't matter. You're always learning. And if you have a good baseline, right, or a good understanding of being, meaningful and positive action, that's something that's really great to build on and is only going to make you a better person as you age.
Exactly. It's these basic things. Who teaches young children happiness skills? This is like the most important kind of things. Another thing that I teach about is like, let's stay healthy, because also our bodies, if our bodies are healthy, then our souls can shine even more fully. So it all goes together. It's holistic. Teaching children to appreciate their bodies, to have gratitude for their bodies, and to do everything possible to keep them healthy. So I actually wrote this during the pandemic.
Nice.
Yeah, because parents were asking me, like, our children are home all day.
Yep.
They're eating junk. They're not going to sleep. They're not exercising. Can you explain to them why? Why are these things important? So my background is in public health. I graduated from Harvard, and then I went on to medical school. And even while I was at Harvard, I was taking courses at Harvard Medical School and the Graduate School of Public Health. So I love public health. And that's why I love spreading gratitude through having a healthy body and a healthy soul. Those are the things that I have learned and that I'm just loving sharing.
Yeah. Braca, where were you 40 years ago when I needed this as a child?
That's why I'm writing these books, because I didn't have these books.
Yeah,
these
and
are the
if you think
books I
about it,
wanted.
And, I'm just thinking back to my childhood, and I think I had a pretty good childhood here in the U.S., but, I look at my parents were working a lot, and they did their best, and I'm not trying to they did their best to raise me the best way they knew how, but I think these, books like this could have helped them even more to fill in those blanks, because we all don't know everything.
Right.
And, especially the healthy part, back in the 80s and 90s when I was growing up, you got rewarded by food. So what did that do?
Yes.
That made us bigger. We didn't totally understand, the food pyramid and all that stuff that we know now. And now we hear take the food pyramid and flip it upside down. That's really how it should be. So, it's great though to know that you're doing this and starting it at a young age. It's just I'm just overcome because I think it's fantastic to start there. I mean, we can always do books towards adults, and you could probably go out there and find a million books the same way, but I guarantee you're not going to find as many books for these children. And that's what I love. And that brings me to my next question was, you've done over 40 books now, 45 and counting. And what got you into writing? And then why specifically focus on kids?
That's the thing. I love to simplify. I'm telling you, even at Harvard, I was not into reading all these long books. I'd read the
Right.
beginning. Yeah, I'd read the beginning and the end and a little bit in the middle, and I got the gist of it. That's what I'm doing for children. I take complex topics or difficult topics, even sometimes controversial, and I make it as simple and joyful and I tell it in a clear, calm way so that children can readily absorb the messages and understand like the deepest stuff in life. And it's possible. People think, how can you explain this stuff to children? But you can. If you really understand something well, then you can explain it in a simple way.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
And even in adult life, right? The more simple that you can explain something, the better off we're going to be. So
Yes,
naturally, I mean, it's going to, we want it to be simple for children in terms that they can understand. And
yes.
that's fantastic because that also helps us parents to understand and explain it to our children. But with your writing, I mean, how did you go from Harvard, to becoming an author? And I know that your Jewish roots had some to do with your writing as well as personal experiences. Do you want to share any of those experiences that helped you get into writing?
Yes, sure. Because the thing was, at age 12, I read the Diary of Anne Frank, and that's when I started my own diary. And at age 12, started like adolescence, and like as my body changed, my consciousness changed, and I just started thinking more about life and wondering, what is the purpose of life? What are we doing here? That began my teenage years of searching. And although I too had like a happy childhood, I really became kind of miserable as a teenager in this search.
Mm-hmm.
The search became more and more desperate. And as that happened, that's how the food addiction started, because it was like what I learned is that food addictions come from feeling like there's a scarcity of pleasure in your life. So when you eat, you feel you get this pleasure for the 2 seconds it's in your mouth. And to keep the pleasure lasting, which is what we all want, lasting pleasure, you just keep eating, just keep stuffing your face, and then the pleasure will keep lasting. But then you finish the whole box of cookies, the whole bag of potato chips, and you're left feeling emptier than you were before. This is what went on with me. It was like a horrible way to live. It felt like I was in a prison as the
Yeah.
addictions kept going. And I looked like I was successful on the outside, going to Harvard, doing really well there and going on to medical school. But I was becoming more and more miserable inside as I did not know the purpose of life. And I really didn't know what's this all about. When I finally discovered it, that's when I went to Israel after the first year of medical school. And I finally learned like the deep spiritual wisdom about how it's gratitude that fills us up, that's really our purpose for being here. And we've gotten so far off the mark that we were given this amazing garden and we don't appreciate it. And we take so much for granted. And the world had like become very gray in my eyes, with like morals didn't seem important to me. And when this changed and I got that deep wisdom about life, it's like the colors came back and I began to appreciate all the things that I was taking for granted for so long. And ever since then, I've never been running on empty anymore. So I began this process of appreciating the abundance of pleasures in this world.
Yeah, and that's amazing that you can take that, learn from it, and then provide that message to others too. That's one of the reasons I started the podcast was to talk with folks like you so that we could get messages out there and let people know that they're not alone and that there are ways to figure things out. We don't have to settle with who we are today unless we want to, right? If you're happy with who you are, absolutely. By all means, I don't want you to change. I want you to be you. But
Yes.
if you're not happy with yourself, folks like yourself come on, right? And you tell your story, which I love. You had that struggle, which so many of us do. And I was right around with the same with you when I was in college and stuff. What is the purpose of life? What am I doing this for? Who am I? Those types of questions. And I think when you could come and answer those and then put them down in written word and then help the next generation learn, that's fantastic. And I love it. And, to talking about your books, I checked out your site and there's a ton of stuff on there, like the picture books for kids, stuff for teens, even gift cards for, book lovers. But what I wanted to ask is what's one book you're super proud of and why?
Okay, all righty. I'll talk about The Mother Who Always Said Yes. This is one of my newest books. The pictures are hysterical. It's it's a very unique book because I never tell, like the pictures are saying the opposite of what the words are saying in the book.
Right.
It's really unusual. It's this girl, and she's fantasizing, what would it be like to have a mother who always said yes? And she says yes to everything. And you think it would be amazing, but the pictures show you what it's really like,
Yeah.
You get a sense of how things just go really downhill and the children love this. This book is selling out of every store it goes into. It's like unbelievable. This is really hitting a mark because it's helping to eliminate the entitlement epidemic. That's
My
the
goodness,
real
yes.
problem. And children are starting to get, maybe it wouldn't be so great if I got every single thing that I wanted. And things become really dysfunctional really quickly in this book. And the girl at the end of the book realizes, oh my gosh, you want to fight? Sure, you could fight all day. You could stay out all night. Everything becomes completely wacky. But a child realizes, wow, maybe that wouldn't be the greatest. Maybe it's really good to have rules, some rules in the house, some guidelines to follow. So I let the child figure that out themselves. All my books are about empowering children. That's what I want to do. Empower them to not be afraid of this world, because I was really afraid of this world in those difficult years. And I realized when you give children guidelines about trusting life, trusting that there's really a good purpose to this life and that you're really good within, then you begin to not have to control everything and you can enjoy life more. So I'm trying to give over that to children. Yeah.
And that's amazing because if we can get children to start thinking about ways to enjoy life, in this situation, like learning about balance, right? The balance between the yeses and the nos, how it does make an impact. Also learning about consequences, right? There's consequences to everything that happens, whether it be good or bad. But it's great to know that you can take these ideas and put them in to these children's books because I don't know that I think it would be difficult for me. We get into this adult thinking so many times, and we start talking, big adult words. And sometimes we forget about how easy and simple we can make things just so everybody can understand and children. And I love that because if we build them up when they're younger, it's really going to make them better adults.
Exactly.
And hopefully give them a better outlook on life, a better understanding of the way the world works. And we know the world doesn't always work in our favor, but, to just know that you can be you could be the best that you could be. You can have empathy, you could be resilient, and you can be a good person.
And I just want to argue that the world does really work in our favor. It might not feel like it, but I think there was a Rolling Stone song. You can't always get what you want, but if you try sometime, you just might find you get what you need.
Exactly.
All the things we go through. There's another expression like, it's not like life is happening to you, it's happening for you, believe it or not.
Yeah.
It really is.
And, it's a good thing because maybe had I had your books, I would think of life a little bit more positively as opposed to I tend to have a negative candor on it. Sometimes I was like, oh, this is working, against you. Now, I'm not the type of person that likes to play a victim.
Right.
But, you could see things like, oh, I can't believe this happened or that happened. But you're absolutely right. life does give you everything that you need.
Yes, yes, yes.
And there's a big difference between needs and wants, right?
Yes, exactly. It doesn't feel like it when you're in the midst of a painful challenge, but everything being given to us is like this. It's like a barbell. It's being given to us. It's a personal trainer. These things that happen to us are being given to us truly to strengthen us. And in one of my books, it's called Don't Read This Book. It teaches children how to fight that inner critic. We all have an inner critic putting us down all day, telling us, oh, you got to be miserable from morning till night. This voice is there. And we all have it. Everyone thinks they're the only one listening to this inner critic because the personal trainer is designed just for you. It knows what your weaknesses are. So it'll tell you, you're lacking this. You're missing that. If you only had this, you'd be happy all day long. So I'm teaching children to recognize that. And when they recognize that, then they have the tools to say, oh my gosh, it's you. You're the inner critic trying to make me miserable. Now I know that. I'm not going to think about what I'm missing. I'm not going to focus on what I'm lacking. I'm going to be grateful for what I already have. Then you get the power back. You push off that weight that's on you and you grow your gratitude muscles. Every time you push off that inner critic, you grow your gratitude muscles and you become a more grateful person.
I love that. And do you know from your, your experiences, have you noticed any things that tend to get people to go into that mindset of, being their own critic?
Well, I mean, it comes from childhood. We go through all kinds of traumas. Everyone experiences traumas in different ways, and we all have different sensitivities to the traumas. But we all have experienced rejection through, it just happens. And this creates an inner critic. But the main thing is recognizing it because we just feel miserable. We don't even know why we're miserable. So I learned from this great psychologist named Tara Brach. She explains the concept of rain, recognition that there's this voice putting you down, accept it, acknowledge it, and then I investigate it. Wait, why am I feeling miserable all of a sudden? What just happened that's making me miserable? Once you recognize all of that, then you can begin to nurture yourself, nourish your hungry soul. Your soul is hungry for lasting pleasure. How do you bring lasting pleasure into your life? Through gratitude. And I have something called the pleasure ladder on my website. It explains the 5 levels of pleasure. Each one brings more connection. I encourage people, like on my website, it explains the different steps. I encourage people to download this free chart and put it on their refrigerator or their cabinet so they can, when they feel that scarcity, if they feel like overeating or something.
Right?
Yeah, they can recognize, wait a minute, it's just pleasure that I want. I don't have to eat this whole container of ice cream. No, I got stuck on thinking that it's only ice cream that gives me pleasure, but these are all the things that give me pleasure. All the natural physical pleasures in this world, spending time in nature, moving our bodies, exercise, it gets those endorphins flowing.
Sure does.
Yeah, all the natural foods that we could eat. And music, there's so many natural physical pleasures in this world. When we experience them with gratitude, that's what gives us lasting pleasure and connection. Because when we're in a state of addiction or anxiety, loneliness, alienation, estrangement, we don't feel connection. This gives us connection. We begin to be connected to these amazing things in this world. And going up the pleasure ladder, love. When we focus on what are we grateful about from another person, when we focus on that fills us with love. Nobody even has to be there.
Just
it's
thinking
totally
about it,
empowering.
right? Yeah.
Exactly. Totally empowering. There's 5 levels which correspond to our 5 fingers. We have within our hands the power to bring pleasure into our lives at any moment. So I go up this ladder. It explains all the five main categories of ways that we can bring really infinite amounts of pleasure into our lives at any moment of life.
Yeah, that's amazing. And the fact that you're offering that to people free, I agree with you. Print it out, put it on your fridge, keep it as a reminder of what you're focusing on and to look at that positivity and gratitude. Yeah, that's amazing that you give a tool for that and don't even charge people for it. So
Yeah.
that's great.
The truth is, actually, somebody hacked into our website and started downloading like endless copies of the Pleasure Ladder chart. And so I think last week, my daughter-in-law actually had to charge $1 for the chart now because it was, and once she charged $1, that craziness stopped happening. So it might still be $1 now because she said, I had to stop this because I didn't know what, it was like something was going, I don't know what happened. But
like
anyway.
Maybe a bot was going out there and downloading it or
Exactly.
something. Yeah. Yep, that's all. And now I want to, Braca, I want to zoom out a little bit because I know your work screams positivity and gratitude, but I wanted to know what's your take on why that's so important today? Like, why do kids and adults need this now more than ever, in your opinion?
Right now, there is an entitlement epidemic. We are taking so much for granted in our lives, children and adults. We're not focusing on our amazing bodies, all the body parts that are working right now, all the illnesses we don't have. Anybody listening to this podcast is hearing it. They might be able to see it. I mean, these are amazing gifts. There are trees outside. We can open the window. We could get the breeze. I mean, if we have a roof over our heads, it's endless. We start focusing on what we have, and that's the whole purpose of life. Because I had no idea what we were here to do. We're here for just that purpose, to enjoy this amazing world in gratitude.
Yeah, and do you think like things like screen time for kids and stress, do you think that all adds up to why we need to really take a look at being grateful?
Yes, and screen time is good for connection. We are connecting.
Yeah, we're doing it right now.
It's awesome, but it does create less one-on-one in real time with real people, right in front of you. There's less of that going on now. So yes, like we need a balance because I do think it is awesomeness. This, the podcast that we could do, how we could learn from people all around the world. And that's great. I want to embrace that gift, but also just spending more time in the natural world is so important. Our bodies were designed for that. So when we get off kilter from that, our bodies react with more stress and more of a sense of estrangement from life and confusion about life. I during those difficult years for me, just recently heard this analogy. It's as if you're given all these puzzle pieces. That's great. But if you're never given the big picture of what to do with it, you have no idea what to make of it. Now that I got the big picture, that this world was really created for us to be here, to experience it in gratitude, then all the puzzle pieces fall into place. So that's what it's about.
And that's a great thing. I love that you use that analogy that if you never see the picture on the box for the puzzle, you have no idea what it's supposed to look like. So you have no idea if it's right or not. Or it's almost like taking a puzzle and trying to put it together with the pieces upside down, right?
Yes.
So you can't see it.
Yes. And even if you see the pieces, you don't know what to make of the picture.
Exactly.
You have no idea.
Exactly. But that's great that, we're looking past these things and trying to get a bigger picture, understand things. And I love that you're addressing that, especially with children and helping their parents come along too. And I agree with you because right now is a very different and challenging time. This is different than when I grew up as a child, with all the technology and stuff that's here now. You're right. We do need to. It's good for things, right? I mean, technology is great. I work in technology, so I don't want to, I don't want to downplay it at all, but it can also be bad as well. And we do need to, and this is for the adults and the kids out there, you need to disconnect from time to time. You just have to, because we are not meant to be glued to a screen all the time.
Yes.
Get it, like you said, Braca, get out there, enjoy the trees, enjoy the wind on your face, the breeze of a nice, cool summer night, whatever it may be, enjoy it and realize that it was made and created for us to be able to stay. And I say created because, so for myself, I know you're Jewish, but I'm Christian, and we both have the basis in the same, the same Bible or the Old Testament. So it's like, I know that take religion out of it. You cannot look at this world and just say, boy, this just all happened from a big bang. There was no intelligent designer whatsoever. I'm sorry, it works too perfect for that to be a mistake.
Exactly. Let me give my favorite example is on the lowest level of pleasure, an orange. Just an orange. This is one gift. You know how the fruit are green when they're not ready for us. They're camouflaged in with the leaves. They're protected until it's ready for us. Then it becomes the brightest color because it's calling to us, ready. That's how it calls to us. So like we experience the pleasure of looking at it. And then we can smell it. And then it comes individually packaged in this amazing wrapper.
It's self-contained all on its own.
We unwrap it and the sweet juiciness is kept in for months, and it's all designed for us. This is made with like infinite loving kindness, infinite wisdom, because at the end you find the seeds, and the seeds were designed along with the peel to go into the earth and become infinite more trees, infinite more oranges. How could this just be? This is all unbelievable.
There's no way it can be an accident, right? It's no big bang that just happened and everything evolved with no direction whatsoever. Right. It's just like your puzzle analogy, right? Yes. Here's all these pieces, but we don't know what the big picture is going to be. So it wouldn't work the way that it has. I mean, just some, common sense just kind of tells me that there's got to be some type of involvement here, So now, of course, I believe the involvement is God, right? I'm sure you do as well. But, a lot of people out there don't believe that. But I just say, get outside, look around. This cannot have happened by mistake. It just works too perfectly.
Yes, and just call it whatever you want, the infinite oneness, the source, the source of all the energy flowing around us. And, how the trees give to us, we give to the trees. It's an unbelievable interaction going on between all of us. There's a source for all that energy.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. And I love that, we brought that up and that we could talk about it here a little bit, because maybe there's some folks out there that are listening to the podcast or watching it on YouTube that maybe have just never thought about that before. And that's a good, easy way to break it down. Just think about it. It is the way that everything works together. From my point of view, there's got to be some divine intervention there. So, but yeah, excellent. And so, Braca, I know that this is not your first podcast, so I wanted to ask you, because I've watched a few that you've been on, but what's it like taking your message beyond the page and into conversations like this?
It's so thrilling for me. I love it. I love interacting. I give presentations. That's one of my biggest joys, when I meet the children that have been reading my books, and they ask questions.
That's awesome.
It is. It's awesome getting feedback from people around the world, and also hearing books that have saved lives. Like, this book, The Happiness Box, this just came out in a universal version, but for years ago, it was just a Jewish book, and now we've made it for everybody. So this book, I hear about children that grew up with it and how it changed their lives, because like they were bullied. And then they went inside the happiness box, and they were able to rebuild themselves and become more grateful people and overpower that miserableness of their lives and just become great people. When I hear about the books saving lives, and also the books that help with the prevention of abuse, we all have happiness boxes. That's what this boy discovers. This is a boy who's miserable, and he's not happy with anything he gets. And when his parents get a washing machine, his father has the idea to make the box that the washing machine came into a happiness box.
Yeah.
And he says, you can only think happy thoughts in this box. So he goes in, and he's not used to being grateful. He tries a few things, and then he gets into it, and it becomes a habit. And he's so used to becoming a grateful person. One day he's not happy, and he's on a bus, and he goes, how could I be happy? I don't have my box.
Right.
And then he realizes the box is really
his mind. right?
Exactly. That's where we all have a happiness box. We can make it. So this is a very classic book to teach young children happiness skills. So yeah, that's how I feel the impact of the
I
books.
love that. I love that because there's so many different topics that we've already covered, and you've got 45 books, so I'm sure we could probably do an episode on every book, Braca, and still have time left over for extras. But it's great to hear this because it's such a wonderful thing to see that, like, you and from a family perspective, that your family's all involved, or a good chunk of your family's involved to help with the Growing Impact publications, get the books out there, help the parents, help the children. And what we're really what you're doing is you're training up these youngsters to be the next best generation that we
Yes.
probably ever had. Because if we can use these books to help build out our young people and to help them understand the way these are tools that we didn't have as kids that I know that we could have benefited from. And, hopefully this will go out there and, really make the next generation of our country, our world, better folks to help understand themselves and everyone else. And then hopefully we can start getting rid of some of these, things throughout the world that are just bad things where we have bad actors and things like that, and be more on the positive vibe. But yeah, sorry for spewing out of the mouth there, Braca, but I just love this fact because I don't think that there's enough tools for our young people and young parents to really teach their kids the way to be happy, the way to fight abuse, the way to fight bullying and things like this that we have all experienced at one time or another. And that's what I think makes this so universal to everyone.
You said it perfectly. Thank you so much. Thank you.
But yeah, and so what for you? What's the ripple effect that you're kind of hoping for? And I know I kind of gave what my vision thinks, but for Growing Impact, like, where do you see this going in the next few years? Do you see more books coming on? Things like that.
Yes, right now today I was finishing up the text for a board book about abuse. This is a whole new level, teaching the youngest children, because these are picture books I have, but now
Yeah.
a board book for really little children to get them familiar with, how special their body is, how nobody should be exposing themselves to them and to be careful.
Right.
It's really, we're teaching this now to even the youngest children that can absorb these messages to prevent a lot of unnecessary pain in life. There's going to be pain. There's going to be pain that we need to grow from, but some of it's unnecessary. And by the more we can educate children, proactively educate them, we can prevent a lot of unnecessary pain. I feel like I went through a lot of unnecessary pain in my life with all the eating disordered behavior. If I had understood life earlier, I wouldn't have had to have gone through that. But, now I'm using it, channeling it in a good way to help other people. But still, I feel that people could be much more productive if they don't have to waste a lot of time with unnecessary pain that holds them down.
Yeah, absolutely. If we can stop anybody from having from my point of view, if I can stop anyone from having any type of pain whatsoever, or to not have to have the same bad experiences that I've had, and they can learn from it, I definitely want to do that. And I think you're doing the same thing here, as you're learning from your own experiences, probably from your family too, and from being a mom, and from being an educator and being educated. So you have all these different walks of life that you can draw from, and that's fantastic. Yeah, because we can just help other people so that they don't have to go through the same struggles that we went through.
Exactly. You got it.
Awesome. All right, Braca, it's time to switch gears a little bit. I do a little segment called Dude Q&A, just some fun rapid fire questions. Just the first thing off the top of your head. Just a couple of questions, super easy. I'll give you a hint into the first one. Do you prefer coffee or tea?
Definitely tea, like natural, healthy teas.
Like herbal teas and stuff like that?
Yeah, that's the word, herbal.
Yeah, absolutely. My wife's got me on those. I usually have one when I do podcasts for the throat. So yeah, she's got me into that. But in the morning, I'm a coffee guy for sure. But that's great. All right. So see, that's not too bad. I hope not. But favorite kids book growing up. What was your favorite kids book?
My favorite kids book was Put Me in the Zoo.
Put Me in the Zoo. Yeah.
I loved that book. I can't even explain how much I loved it. This was like a leopard with polka dots, and he wanted to be in the zoo. He kept trying, and they wouldn't let him in the zoo. And the polka dots would change into different colors. And these children, they finally got the idea, you don't belong in the zoo, you belong in the circus. You're so entertaining. I don't know why this book had such an impact on my life. One, because I realized the children were empowered. They realized his abilities. You know, if you don't fit in one place, you might fit in better here. I think this became the theme of kind of my books, learning to be grateful for what you have. That was in this joyful book that was told in an amazing way. Yeah.
That's awesome. And now you're kind of continuing that story through your own books and breaking it down a little bit further. So I love that.
Yeah.
For you, what's the best piece of advice you've ever gotten?
I don't know if this is it, but one piece of advice that I love that I heard from Wayne Dyer: success is an inside job. I achieved what seemed to be success at Harvard.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to meet like super famous people there and very wealthy people, powerful people. They were not happy people. That's not what brings joy in life. So I got to see that success is an inside job. It's nourishing your hungry soul. It's filling up your life with moments of gratitude. That's really success.
Yeah, and I could back that up too, because I know for me, I always thought success was having more money. So when I
Yeah.
was younger, my first 20 years in my working career, I was always working, and I got burned out a lot, but I've since found out that that is not a measure of success. Now I would rather spend time with my family, friends, outdoors, doing things that keep me connected and grounded, other than, chasing that almighty dollar that no matter how much you get, you'll never have enough, right?
Totally.
And if I would have known that 20 years ago, I'd
Yeah.
probably be better off than I am now, but yeah, you're right. A lot of people do, they define success through money, but really that is probably the last thing on the list that you should even look at. So awesome. I love that. All right. Are you a pizza eater?
Love pizza.
Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
No.
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 Okay, good.
No,
I'm with you on that. I always
No.
like to ask that question, but I can't do like that real, sweet and then like salty, type. Yeah.
Exactly. I like the salty stuff or the sweet stuff, not together.
Not together. Exactly. That's awesome. All right. One word to describe your writing process.
Grateful. It's coming from the source. I'm grateful when I get these ideas and I could spread them out into the world.
All right. Last one. Dream vacation spot.
That's Israel. And not just Israel, it's Jerusalem. And not just Jerusalem, it's being in the old city. It's the most amazing place. I hope that everybody gets to go there. It's like the greatest spiritual vortex in the world.
Yeah, that is definitely, Israel is a bucket list, destination for me, because I would love to be there and just see all the history that we base our faith on,
Yes.
It's so amazing to see that. But that's awesome. You crushed it. I mean, hopefully that was pretty easy. I just like to give, some simple questions, let the audience get to know you a little bit better. But, the only thing out of that'll probably spark a debate is the pineapple on pizza. Everyone's going to have a comment on that. But no, I love it. Braca, this has been amazing, and I want to thank you so much for hanging out with me and sharing your story. But are there any last words for the Just a Dude community that's out there, something to leave us thinking about?
Yeah, I'd love to say this. What's the difference between a happy life and a miserable life?
Yeah, what is it? Let's hear it. Gratitude?
That's it.
Yes,
How
it is.
grateful you are.
I love it.
You are. Two people can have the same miserable things happening to them. One has a grateful life and it's in your hands. It's how grateful you are that determines if your life is miserable or a happy life.
I love that. Thank you so much for that, Braca. And for our listeners, where can they go to find your books and maybe get in contact with you if they needed to?
I just put this up on my wall last week.
Oh, I love it. It's right there. Yep.
I just put it on my wall last week. Vacations.com is the website that my children created. They are the ones that do all the work behind my books.
I love it.
They love if you visit the site. They love it. So I hope you will.
Yeah. So growingimpactpublications.com, and it's all one word. It's all together, right? And just so you know as well, Braca, and for the listeners, that you will have a guest spot on justadudepodcast.com. So I'll have a photo of you there if it's been provided, along with your links and any social media. So justadudepodcast.com is an alternative to growingimpactpublications.com. Awesome. Well, Braca, is there anything else you want to share with the audience before we call it a day?
I can't begin to thank you enough. You resonate so deeply with the work, and I'm so grateful to you. Thank you.
Well, and I'm so thankful for you coming on and sharing with our audience. And you're going to be such a great resource, I feel, for our parents who have children, especially younger children. I think you're going to be a great resource to help people guide our next generation through the troubles we had, but in a better way.
Well, I have one more thing to say.
Yeah.
If people don't want to buy the books, or they don't have money to buy the books, they can just call their public library, and the library can order the books. And that gets the message out into the world, too.
I love it.
So
I love it.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm glad you brought that up, because I think so many times, especially now in a digital age, we forget about the library.
Yes.
Yes. But yeah, you're absolutely right. They will order those books. I know that we have Akron Summit County here in Ohio Public Library, and they will do that. If there's a book out there that they're not stocking, they'll order it, bring it in, and let you know when it comes in. So that's great advice, and it's something that I'm going to remind people in the future too, that say, hey, if you don't have the money, maybe go check it out at the library.
Exactly.
But of course, I would love people to come buy your books, though, right? I mean, obviously, but yeah. No, that's awesome. Braca, thank you so much for that. But yeah, thank you for taking your time with me today. There you have it, folks. Bracha Goetz, bringing the good vibes and big impact. Head over to growingimpactpublications.com to check out all of her books. If you love this episode, smash that subscribe button, leave a review, and tell your buddies. Until next time, keep being awesome, dudes and dudettes. I'm Nathan with Just a Dude Podcast.